Okay, so we are going to start a unit on polynomials, and this is something that you've probably never heard of before, so you'll see lots of new terms in today's lesson. So our learning targets are to be able to classify polynomials and write them in standard form. Okay, some things to know before we start. Let's just take a look at this thing right here. This is a power, okay? And this thing right here is called an exponent, which you are probably familiar with. This is the base of that power, okay? So base exponent. Now, x is also a variable. Remember, letters in math represent things that can vary, so that's a variable. Now, sometimes you'll also see a number in front, something like this, like 5 is in front of this. And this is 5 times x to the 6th power. So remember, when things are right next to each other, that means multiplication. That's called the product, multiplication. And that number in front is called a coefficient, spelled like this, but okay. And then lastly, here's one other thing that I want to touch on, and this is kind of interesting. So when you see something like x by itself, remember that's a variable. You say, well, that doesn't have an exponent on it, nor does it have a coefficient. Well, that's not entirely true. When you don't see something in front of this, remember this is really 1x, okay? We've talked about this before, but that's really a 1 in front of it. We generally don't write it, but it's there. It's hidden. Also, same thing is the exponent on x here is actually also a 1. That's another hidden 1. So if you don't see an exponent on a variable, it's 1. If there's nothing written in front of that x, then the coefficient is 1 as well. So those are hidden. We don't generally write them, but if it's helpful for you today to write that in there, you may want to, so you don't forget. Okay, so those are just some things to know about powers that will come in handy today. Okay, so we're going to learn what is a polynomial and how are they classified. We'll just get into part of this today. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is something called a monomial. And mono means one, okay? So when we think about a monomial is just really one term, okay? Monomials are often called terms. So a monomial can be just a number like 7, okay? It could also be a variable like x, okay? Or it could be a product. Remember, product means multiplication, okay? And they'll be written right next to each other, and that means times, right? Or multiplication. So it could be something that is a product of numbers and variables, all with these whole number exponents. So it might be like 9x to the 2nd power y to the 5th. These are all being multiplied together. They're all one term or one monomial all together. Anything that's all multiplied together, we call that one term or one monomial. So these are all monomials, or one thing, or one term, okay? Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is just degrees of these monomials. And how do you find a degree? Now, the degree is important because it tells you a little bit about how things behave when you graph them. So we're going to learn about that, not necessarily the graphing in this unit. So how do we find the degree? It says here to add the exponents of the variables. So kind of key words here. Add the exponents. I'm going to underline that, of the variables. So remember, variables are letters. So we're going to find the variables in each of these and figure out what's going on. And then we're going to add the exponents. So here's our variables, p and q. You're going to look at the exponents of those, 4 and 3. And now it says to add those together. So all I have to do is say 4 plus 3, the degree then is 7. Okay? And that's all you have to do to find the degree of a monomial. All right? Now there can be sometimes can be a little bit of tricks here when they do this, so you have to be aware of what's going on. And remember to keep in mind some of those hidden things. So this part B here, it says 7ED. So this is 7 times E times D. Now, when we're doing this, remember there's nothing written as an exponent for either E or D. That really means a hidden 1 there. So now, these are my variables. Here are my exponents. You are going to add the exponents on those variables. So 1 plus 1, 2. So the degree is 2. Okay. All right. Degree of this monomial, we're going to find the variables. You'll notice there are no variables. Variables are letters. There's no variables. So what is the degree on this? 0. There isn't one, so you're going to put 0. Okay, so that's how you find a degree of a monomial, and that's it. Okay, hopefully these will take you, 5 seconds to do. Okay, maybe 10, something like that. All right, polynomials now. Okay, poly means many. So this is really a bunch of monomials put together, or a bunch of terms put together. And there are going to be, you'll see the definition here, it says one or more monomials or terms put together by addition or subtraction. So something, you can just have one, that's a monomial, but that's a little more specific. So a polynomial can still be just like 13x squared. That's a monomial, but it's still classified as a polynomial. Okay, but more specifically, you're going to have, here's a polynomial that has 3 terms or 3 monomials put together. And notice they're put together by addition and subtraction. So these are called polynomials, okay? And then that last one, 4x to the third y to the fifth minus 7x squared y to the third plus 8x to the third y. Okay, again, 3 monomials. The sign that's in front of the term, it goes with it. Okay, that's part of it. So notice those things. But they are put together by addition and subtraction. So that's how you can tell how many terms there are. Okay, so now degree. We know how to find degree of a polynomial. Or of a monomial? How do we find it for a polynomial? It says find the degree of each monomial or term. The biggest one is the degree of the polynomial. Okay, so for this one, you're going to find the degree of each term or each monomial. So we're going to look at this first one. Okay, here's our first term, here's our second term, and here's our third term. Okay, so we need to find the degree of each of these. So the degree of this, we're going to find our variable, that would be x, and the exponent on that. Are there any other variables in that term? No. So the degree of that first term is just 7. The degree of this one, second term, there's only one variable, and it has an exponent of 4. So that's 4. Okay, and the last one, only one variable with a degree or a exponent of 2. So that is the degree of that. Now, it says to find the degree of each polynomial. Up here it says it's the biggest one of those that you write down. So what is the degree of this polynomial? The degree would be, the degree would be 7, because that's the biggest one. So this is our biggest one, so degree 7, okay? And that's how you do those. Now, if there's only one variable in each monomial, it's pretty easy. But if there's multiple variables, then you want to take a look at here. Remember, you're going to find the variables, add the exponents. So on this first one, the degree would be 9, 7 plus 2. On this second one, it would be 12. On this third one, it would be 11, right? 2 plus 9. So now which one of these is the biggest? 12. So the degree would be 12, okay? So that's how that works. And, all right, so sometimes you even get more than one. So this term has 3, right? So 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Okay, 4 plus 3 plus, this really has a 1 here, so be careful, that's 7, 8. And this also has a 1. Don't forget those hidden ones. So 1, 2, and 2 is, this would be 5. Okay, so what is the degree of this one? The biggest one there is 9. So that is my degree. That's how you find the degree of a polynomial. Okay. All right. A couple other things that we're going to learn here today is how to find or write a polynomial in standard form. You're going to find the degree of each term or monomial and then put them in order from biggest to smallest. Okay? And then leading coefficient. This is the number that's in front once the polynomial is in standard form. Okay, so let's do that. Write the polynomial in standard form and then identify the leading coefficient. Okay, so standard form. So first thing you want to do is find the degree of each term. Okay, so the degree of this would be 1. This one would be 5, 3, 0. Okay, now you are going to put these terms in order from biggest to smallest. Now, you're not just going to write 5, 3, 1, 0. The biggest one is this one right here. But the term that is this whole thing, and notice that I put a box around that negative that goes with it. The sign goes with it. So that is the biggest degree. That's going to be written first. So standard form of a polynomial, I'll abbreviate SF. We're going to start with that one. It's going to be negative 7x to the 5th. Okay, so I'm going to cross that out. Now the next biggest one is 3, right? This one right here. So now this, notice I put a box around that with the sign in front of it. So I'm going to write plus 4x to the 3rd. That's next. I've used that. Cross it out. Next thing is the 1, right? Now notice there's no sign written in front of it. That always means it's positive. So this time we're going to have to add, because it's not in front anymore, we're going to have to add a plus sign, an addition sign. Okay. All right. And then lastly, I've got this one. Okay, 0. So now I need that negative that goes in front of it, negative 10. Now that's standard form. Okay. And you've got it. The leading coefficient, remember, the coefficients are these things. These are coefficients, okay? Just the numbers in front. Okay, so now the leading one is just the one that's in the very, very front after you've put it into standard form. So the leading coefficient is negative 7. And now you've written it in standard form and identified the leading coefficient. Okay? All right, so this next one. All right. Start by finding the degree. This would be 2. This one would be 4. And this would be 7. Okay? Now, the biggest one, so standard form, would be this one. So I'm going to say it's the first thing. So I don't, because it's positive, I don't need to put that plus sign. Matter of fact, I shouldn't for the first one, even though it has it there. Okay. Now the second one, next biggest would be this. So I would write minus 9y to the 4th. And then lastly, this one. So I would have to say plus 2y squared. There's not a plus sign right there. And so I have to add that at the end there. Okay. So that's standard form. Now, leading coefficient. What number is in front? Well, there's nothing written. What does that mean? Remember, that means there's really a hidden 1 there. So the leading coefficient is just 1. A leading coefficient should not have any variables. It's only a number. So keep that in mind. Don't write y to the 7th. It's 1. Okay, that's my leading coefficient. All right. And that is it. Next time we will get into some more stuff. We'll learn how to classify. But that's it for today. I hope it makes sense. Have a good one. Bye.